are at ITU Telecom World 2016 in Bangkok. With me here today is Mr. François Rancy, Director of ITU Radio Communication Bureau. So let me dig directly into the questions. So to my first question, Director of the ITU Telecommunication Bureau, Mr. Brahim Hassanou, has pointed out that more than half of all people are not yet using the internet, and large differences in terms of broadband speeds and quality exist. Why is this happening, and is there any ideal way forward?
Well, there are several reasons why this is happening. The first one, of course, is the availability of access to internet. To have this availability means to make investments, and in particular in areas where these investments may be high and with not very bright prospect of being recovered quickly. So that's the first. Let's say it's economical. The other aspect is that even in the areas where you have this access, not everybody is taking up internet for several reasons. One is also economical, because it's not affordable. And the second one is what is called digital literacy. So the digital literacy is not high enough for people to go into this world which is new for them. Okay. So these are the reasons. As you can see, several of them are from an economical nature, and what is required to change that is, I think, to change the way in which traditionally the licenses to operators have been given. For broadband, as it was already for mobile telephony, the main way has been through auctioning of spectrum, and that has been the main point. This has an inherent difficulty, is that it is taking out a lot of money from the possibilities of investment, including in these areas where they would be needed to bridge this gap. So if you want to get to more affordability, you also need, in addition to changing the way the licenses are given, you need to use spectrum which is most fitted to cover large areas with lower population densities than in big cities. Okay. So I think one of the impediments for reaching as many people as possible since 3G started its development about 15 years ago, one of the impediments is that the frequencies available, the spectrum available for this, has been in higher bands. Historically, the second generation was developed in the band below 1 gigahertz, and the third generation was developed in the band of the 2 gigahertz band. Okay. When you go to from 1 to 2 gigahertz, you actually multiply the number of base stations required by 4, not by 2, by 4, to provide the same coverage. So this also has been a technical reasons behind the scene, if you wish, that for which we still have 4 billion people to reach for internet access.
Why do you believe wireless broadband can solve the problem?
Well, I think wireless broadband has the ambition, especially through the next generation 5G, has the ambition of providing internet access to everybody everywhere. That's very clear. So again, the question is how we can do that. Obviously, fiber optic networks are not going to be available to everybody everywhere. There is an economical limit, again, to what you can do. But I don't think you could say that wireless broadband is just to complement the fixed network for the last mile. It is actually, it has a much broader ambition, because with the mobile telephony revolution that we have seen in the last 20 years, people are now used to have means of communication with them at any time. And the same thing is happening for broadband communications. Broadband communication become mobile.
From a technical perspective, what are the major advantages with wireless broadband?
The major advantage is that it is a seamless connectivity that you have. You are able to communicate with anybody anywhere in the world, and wherever you are at any time. If I go back in the past where we didn't have that, just to reach somebody on the telephone would easily take 1 week, because you would call, he would not be there. Okay, and then he would call you, you would not be there. So this is the type of things that you can very easily remediate with mobile telephony and mobile broadband. Everything you can be operational at any time. Not everybody may like this, but this is what is happening.
What benefits could wireless broadband bring to operators?
The benefit is that this is what people want. So either you provide that to people, or you would not survive. I think it's the issue now. But let me go back to what I started to say to answer your first question, which is actually very broad, and which means how can we deliver broadband to everybody? I mentioned the need to change the way spectrum is allocated or is actually given to operators to provide service. We have been seeing in the recent years new ways of doing this appearing in several countries. And I would just like to mention one of them, which is what is happening today in Rwanda. 2 years ago, Rwanda launched the deployment of 4G, but they didn't do auctions. They did a contest by which the state would be in a partnership with a private company, and the private company would deploy the network and make the investment, and the state would actually invest by giving spectrum for this. And the selection criteria was on providing coverage to practically all the population in 3 years, and at an affordable price. And we are actually, this is happening, and the expectation is that in 1 year from now, 95% of the population of Rwanda will have access to 4G, which is broadband wireless. So I think we'll see more and more of this type of approach, which actually maximizes from the outset the public benefit of spectrum, and by providing the entire population, or most of it, with broadband services at an affordable prices. So basically, the criterion now will no longer be to maximize the profit for the state, but to maximize the profit for the population by having affordable prices and ubiquitous coverage. These are the two elements, because if, as I mentioned before, the two reasons why we are not covering all the population in the world is the economic reason for the investment to be made and the economic reason for the affordability. And so I think this type of approach actually encompasses or gives a response to both these problems. Another important element of providing affordable broadband mobile communications is the use of the lower part of the spectrum. New frequency bands under 1 GHz have been made available by the ITU since 2007, and they start now to be used. This is the case in particular for Rwanda at 700 MHz. And this band provides the ability to deploy a network with a much lower number of base stations and therefore at a much affordable cost.
What role does ITU play in improving network connectivity for the billions of unconnected worldwide?
The ITU is the only organization which allocates spectrum to the different services worldwide. So the first role of ITU and the first reason why it is helping the development of broadband is that it makes spectrum available worldwide. By selecting frequency bands, which all countries in the world agree to allocate for this purpose. So in the past World Radio Conference of the ITU, where this process takes place, several frequency bands have been identified and allocated for broadband mobile. This was the case a long time ago for 3G. We don't realize that, but the 3G decisions at worldwide level were taken in the ITU in 1992, at the time where the second generation was only starting. So this was basically 10 years forward vision. And similarly, the decision for 4G bands were taken in 2000 and 2007, so a long time ago already. So that's the first aspect of the activities of the ITU, providing harmonized spectrum so that if you have a telephone or now a smartphone, a tablet or a computer, you can go from one country to another, connect to the network, and it's going to work. Okay. It's going to work for two reasons. One is because you have the right frequencies. They are the same in every country. The second reason is that you have the right standard. And the standard is also developed by the ITU through a process by which we ensure that we'll have the equipment available in every country for this purpose, so that we have economies of scale, and this addresses the other aspect, which is affordability, by providing harmonized standards which are applied everywhere. The ITU enables affordable prices for broadband. So these are the two aspects. The third aspect, once we have adopted harmonized allocations, harmonized standards, is to actually make sure that all countries applies these allocations and these standards, and this is also the role of ITU, in particular under Mr. Sanu's Telecommunication Development Bureau.
Thank you, Mr. François Rancy.
Thank you.